Exactly how hard would one have to party in 1974 to get kicked out of Van Halen, a band that featured David Lee Roth, Alex Van Halen, and Eddie Van Halen, all in their young, wild primes? We'll find out in this episode of You Think You Know Classic Rock? But first, and this may not be a shocker, did you know that the Van Halen brothers and David Lee Roth started life as enemies? While students at Pasadena High School, Alex and Edward Van Halen formed a power trio called Mammoth. Meanwhile, across town at John Muir High School, David Lee Roth formed a band of his own called Red Ball Jet. Before long, a heated competition erupted between the two bands. This rivalry led to some hard feelings between Roth and the Van Halen brothers. As Alex told Circus Magazine, he hated us, and we hated him. But as author Greg Renoff explains in his book Van Halen Rising, there was one thing the future Diamond Dave had that the Van Halen brothers couldn't live without: a PA system. As Eddie Van Halen explained, we were renting his PA every weekend for $35 and getting only $50 for the gigs. So it was cheaper to get him in the band. Of course, as it turns out, Van Halen also got one of the most charismatic and popular frontmen in rock history in the deal. And now, they were just one piece of the puzzle away from completing the lineup that would help them conquer the world. Knowing they had to get rid of their current bass player, and we'll get to him next, we promise, the group went to see a band called Snake play at Pasadena High School. They were impressed by the group's bass player, Michael Anthony. So they invited him to get together with a case of Schlitz malt liquor, and they all started playing. Those guys were musically so advanced and so far ahead of what we'd been doing in Snake, Anthony remembers. I was just trying to keep up with them. He didn't need to worry. The magic in the room was undeniable, and with that, the classic Van Halen lineup was born. So who's the guy Michael Anthony replaced? The guy who supposedly partied his way out of Van Halen? His name is Mark Stone, and he played bass guitar in Eddie and Alex Van Halen's band Mammoth starting in 1972. 2 years later, the group added Roth as vocalist and changed their name to Van Halen. But as their fortunes began to rise, it seemed Stone didn't have the required focus to stick with the group. Now, he says it was schoolwork that kicked him out of Van Halen.
You know, I was a straight-A student in school and doing the band, and I was like split between these two things, and basically I just couldn't keep up with them.
But in 1995, Eddie told Rolling Stone that Stone's definition of homework was a bit too, mind-expanding. He says Mark was really creative, but smoked too much hash. He was going to school to be a pharmacist, swear to God. He spent more time at home building LSD molecules. We were playing parties with a repertoire of 100 songs, and he wouldn't remember stuff. Of course, that can happen from time to time with even the sharpest minds. Just ask David Lee Roth.
I forgot the word!
That's it for today. Stay tuned for more episodes of You Think You Know Classic Rock? Meanwhile, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube page, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and check out more of the best in classic rock coverage on ultimateclassicrock.com.